Hi, everybody, and welcome to our latest eReps webinar, the latest in a series of webinars we've been running with our various experts. Our eReps heroes and ambassadors have been involved, and today we're going to be talking to one of our eReps ambassadors, Anna Bogdanova, from Denmark. Copenhagen. I first met Anna in Copenhagen at our international standards meeting where she presented there, and I was very interested in a lot of things she had to say, and hence the ongoing connection. So just a few points to get through, a few points of administration before we talk to Anna. Just so you're aware, you can ask questions. You're all muted, and we can't see your videos. But you will see if you hover over the bottom of your screens, you can ask a question on the Q&A there, and I'll be monitoring that, and I'll try and pose some of those questions to Anna as we go, and then maybe we'll have some more questions at the end of the presentation. Anna is gonna, there's no PowerPoint today. Anna's gonna just talk, and we're gonna try and make it reasonably conversational with a few questions here and there, and see how we go. But just as a little introduction to Anna, so Anna has an online personal training business, I guess, and that online business involves a multidisciplinary team. I think she's got psychologists working for her, etc. The business is called the Irresistibles, I believe. Is that the right translation? Yeah, I think it is. And Anna has won a number of awards. A particular award for taking over where the health system lets go, which I think is a really interesting quote, maybe bridging that gap between the fitness industry and the health sector, which is so important, particularly now, I think. So Anna is going to talk today about words that make or break lifestyle interventions. We have a number of areas to cover. The first being, very interestingly, what modern pain science can teach us about motivation. So I'll go over to Anna, who can introduce herself, I'm sure, some more, and talk to that point.
Thank you, Julian. I've been looking very much forward to teaching on that subject, actually, because it's like a very dear brain baby of mine, the communications of the words that we use. My team and I have a program that lasts for 1 year, but most of our clients actually come back for more. And we learn them how to take care of themselves with exercise, with lifestyle habits. And I think that's the bridge between the healthcare and the fitness system, is like actually to empower people to be able to make better choices in everyday life, even though that fitness and health is not actually a hobby of theirs. And that actually required quite a lot of thought about the communication methods, because I'm sure that I'm not the only one that has been wondering, why don't my clients do what I told them to do, or what they know is right for them? And that's a question that actually occupied my mind for quite a long time, since I started 12 years ago as a personal trainer. And I thought that if they're not doing what we actually agreed on doing, then I must communicate in the wrong way. So I have to kind of fix that and do something else. So the long story short, I think that the subject we're going to talk about today, it's not only relevant for those of us who work with clients and who teach exercise and teach lifestyle habits. It's also important for the client, because it's not only just how we talk to others, it's also how we talk to ourselves. And I'll touch on that subject, the subject of self-talk and self-image. And it's also relevant for everyone who actually works with people and wants them to do something and actually have a compliance on that. So I'll start about the motivation thing. I think that it's a rational thought that if somebody doesn't do what they know is right, then it must be lack of motivation. So people go out and try to find that motivation. I need motivation. How do I find the motivation? I lost my motivation. But this thing is that motivation is always there, but it can be multidirectional. So you're always motivated. Sometimes you're just motivating in two different directions. So you're motivated for some lifestyle changes that you know are good for you, and that would you like to learn some new things, some new subjects, some new skills, and you would also like to actually hold on to, we can call it undesired behavior, but it is actually desired, and I'll come back to that, why it is desired. So we might think that it's undesired, and we might actually feel bad about going back to the old habits, but there is a reason for that. And the thing that tips the seesaw on where you're going in the desired direction of new habits, new better habits, or you actually fall back onto the habits that you're used to that might work for you in the short run, but definitely not in the long run. It's actually the subject that I was very interesting to find in the modern science field, and it's about safety or threat. Basically, you can either feel safe or you can feel threatened. So the change can only happen. You can learn new abilities and new skills, and you can be consistent about them when you feel safe. So when you don't feel safe, then you will kind of turn on the program that gives you instant soothing. And I think many of us are conscious about some of the triggers. They make us do things that we know we shouldn't be doing. And I've heard that a lot, for example, like emotional eating. When I'm angry or when I'm mad, I'm sad, I eat something, ice cream, chips, whatever, drink alcohol maybe. But there is a lot of that underneath. That's just the tip of the iceberg. So underneath that, we have all the unconscious triggers that we are maybe not aware about, but we will become during this hour. So the two huge things that make our system feel threatened is actually hunger and fatigue. And that's often because that's a sign of low energy availability. So when we're low on energy, we kind of try to survive in the short term. But the other thing that is really huge in feeling overall a state of threat, it's pain. And pain, it's a very, very potent behavior agent, because it, if your brain thinks that there is more evidence of threat than of safety, it will make you feel pain. And it can be pain on different levels. It actually doesn't matter if it's physical or emotional pain, but I think physical pain is just easier to talk about because everybody knows how that feels, and we can refer to that. So the thing about pain is that we can get in a state of fear when we feel pain, and that fear is of being hurt or being broken, and the automatic reaction is actually to stop doing what you were doing, actually stop moving, for example. And that's unfortunate because we know movement actually helps when you're in pain.
Anna, just, yes, that's really interesting. I'm just thinking, I've worked a lot in sort of the low back pain area, exercise for people with low back pain, and yeah, I'd refer to fear avoidant behavior, that because there's that anticipation of pain and discomfort, dysfunction, that they avoid particular activities, obviously exercise, physical activities. So yes, yeah, interesting.
So you kind of get paralyzed, you can say that. So you kind of stop wanting to do things that crave more energy from you. So it's like an energy conservation method as well. So when we take pain and talk about pain, and if we kind of accept the premise that it's because your brain thinks that there is evidence of more threat, then we can look at the things that make you feel threatened, make you feel in danger, and the things that make you feel safe. And Laura Mosley has written a wonderful book, Explain Pain, which is really great education for the clients. And he's also written Explain Pain Supercharged, which is more for the professionals, where he explains the mechanisms. But he has done like a picture of DIMS and SIMS, so danger in me signals and safety in me signals. And those signals, they can be from many different things. So it can be things we sense, it can be things we see, we hear, we touch, we taste. It can be things we do, might be movement. It can be things that you say, things that you think and believe. And that's what I think that is very exciting to talk about today. Also things like people that you are around and places you go. So it's not always possible to actually remove the threat, even though as a practitioner we actually have to find out what is the real threat, identify the threat, and acknowledge that if our client doesn't do, or if I don't do what I know is right for me, I have to find out what is the threat, what is the real threat that actually is there. But it can be so huge to work with that it can be threatening in itself. So you have to actually find out, how can I feel more safe? And you can feel more safe even though that you didn't remove the threat. So that's interesting, because things we say can either make us feel threatened or feel safe. And in pain science, there's a lot of talk right now about placebo and nocebo. Placebo is that the positive expectation of something to work will make it work for you. And nocebo is the opposite. So if you have a negative expectation, that actually sends some signals down your spinal cord that create pain and create inflammation and create the central nervous system sensitization, so that you kind of feel worse. And I think it's interesting that our expectations and the words that we use actually can do that. But when you think it's just an input to your nervous system. And what the problem is, that the metaphors we can use with our clients, for example, if you walk into somebody and my husband was at manual therapist the other day, and he listed up all the things that were wrong with him. Oh, I can see why your ankle hurts, because I can see that your nose has been broken, and that's very, very dangerous, because then it actually goes and pushes on that nerve. So he kind of talked him through, and my husband knows better, so he, he didn't really get aggravated by that. But it was very interesting, because when you actually get represented as as broken, as like a series of damages, and you start to visualize, oh my God, I have a pinched nerve, and I also have a frozen shoulder, and I also have this knife stabbing pain, then your brain starts to visualize that. And that closes the opportunities of actions.
Anna,
really
interesting, really interesting. I work as well as in the fitness industry. I work as a manual therapist as well, and it very much is my experience. That's it's what might be referred to as the biomedical model. So it's very structure orientated. So people can come into that situation, and all the questions are about pain. How long have you had the pain? When did the pain start? Where is it? What does it feel like? Is it an ache? Is it a sharp pain? Is it acute, etc., etc.? And there's very much that focus on structure, and then there's that tends to promote those sort of beliefs around there is something structurally wrong with me here. So there's a loss of control inherent in that kind of approach. So really interesting that we need to think about how we change that. So away from those structure-orientated beliefs, and we move towards other influences, a biopsychosocial model, which I think is where you're going with this.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, just to say that somebody in the audience has asked a question about some of those resources that you mentioned, some of those authors that you mentioned, and so we can supply that information post session. Sorry,
Yeah.
Anna, please continue.
Yes, definitely. So, and so the metaphors or the words that we use have a huge impact because they are actually signals to nervous system, and they can either aggravate a painful condition or aggravate threat, or they can actually make you feel more safe. And when I'm talking about lifestyle interventions, I know that my clients get totally paralyzed when they do something that, I mean, maybe they didn't follow through with the plan that we agreed on, and they feel like everything is lost. I ruined that. So it's like it gets like a self-critique, self-negative talk. I ruined that. I did something wrong to myself. Or if they actually come and they worry about the body is not being able to do what it used to do, and they know that they must change something in their life, then they can actually feel very, very stuck in the paradigm of something being wrong with them or them being broken. And when they are that, they just cannot learn anything new because they are in the state of threat. So it's very important to actually try to open the possibilities with the language and try to talk the client into things being normal. It's a normal reaction and it happens. And it's not because you're broken, but show that that was the best thing that they could do with the resources they had. And actually try to show that even the behavior is undesired. It is desired because it's a way of our nervous system to protect us in the given situation. So the pain's target is actually to protect you, to not get hurt. And even though if you are not in any danger of getting hurt, but the overall threat is high, then you will feel pain. And the same with the emotional eating or any other undesirable behavior. It is actually to try to keep you from using more energy than you actually have. And one very, very interesting thing that showed up last year is that you can see that actually lack of motivation can actually be a sign of very high inflammation. So when the inflammation is high, then our system wants to kind of heal itself, and it needs all the energy that it can use. So it goes and turns down the dopamine production and dopamine receptors, so that we don't go out and use our energy, but actually use our energy to heal ourselves. And when the dopamine is low, then your drive is low, your energy is low. You cannot really get yourself to do anything. So I think this new knowledge is very important to keep updated on, because it shows that it's not the client's fault, but something happened, and their system, their nervous system, it's not just the mind or the body, it's the whole thing, had to start a behavior to conserve energy, to heal. And I think when you stop looking at the things that are happening with your body as things or signs of you being broken, but actually signs of your nervous system protecting you, if you stop talking about the fight against the kilos or the fight against the disease or pain, but actually try to see that as a protective mechanism and get more clear on the language that you use about that.
Anna?
That will take away a lot of guilt.
Yes. A phrase springs to mind: the body is a self-healing mechanism. So the body will make adjustments and adaptations. And what we should think about, I think, in that case, is that we shouldn't impose ourselves on that system. We must do this, we must do that. Try and really affect that change. We should try and work with those systems and work with that individual, both on a physical and a mental level, to put the body in a better place, but not to impose ourselves on it.
And I think also it's very important in motivational interviewing, there is quite a lot of reflection on the human view that you as a coach or as a facilitator have of your client is highly effective on, or highly influential on the result that the client will get. So if you as a practitioner think that your client is broken and needs to be fixed and cannot do the things on your own, then the things you do and the things you say and the expectations you have, they will, through the language, actually be planted in your client that will get stuck in the like the offer position, or the helplessness of not being able to fix himself or herself.
Yes, yes, you're promoting a learned helplessness there, effectively, and that's sort of, I guess that speaks to that, what I would refer to locus of control. So we want to, an external locus of control would be that individual who becomes very reliant on the trainer, on the instructor, and takes quite a passive approach. Whereas an internalized locus of control, we're facilitating them, and they're leading that process. We're empowering them, and that's the position that we should look to move towards.
And I think that is not, I mean, that's the thing that gets lost in translation in many cases. And I think especially in healthcare systems, where I was at a conference last year or the year before that, and there was a scientist presenting very, very great results on diabetes with a 12-week intervention. Like they could just do without medication. It was really great results. And then he was standing there and was like, but I just don't understand, because after the 12 weeks, then when the trial ended, they got back to normal. What's wrong with those people? Don't they get it? And I'm like, no, you don't get it. Because what happened is that you didn't actually teach them how to do that on their own. And that takes more time. It's a more lengthy process than if you just give a plan of 8, 12, 16 weeks. Because you kind of have to gain the competence. And I think it's a very interesting study that was made on weight loss, where they had 2 groups, and in one group they had an 8-week period where they didn't go after weight loss. They did go after establishing skills and habits, how to make better choices in your everyday life, and just didn't focus on weight loss at all. So the weight loss didn't happen then. But the other group just went after weight loss from day one. I get a plan and I follow it and I follow through. And they had a huge weight loss in the first 8 weeks. But in the long term, the group that didn't learn the skills, they actually gained all the kilos. And the group that learned the skills and had a slower rate of weight loss, because they could only lose weight in the same tempo as they were able to implement the new habits into their lifestyle without changing the lifestyle actually, but actually just kind of sneaking the small habits in the lifestyle, doing it consistently. They could keep the kilos off after a year. And that's very interesting, I think.
It is very interesting, and an approach I would certainly support. And I know, again, in low back pain, sort of management exercise 4, they would refer, I must stop scratching my ear, I always do that when I'm talking, they refer to a graded exercise plan. So you look at how you introduce and you maintain that longer term adherence through small changes, sneaking those things in, as you say. Because I mean, there is a phenomenon in rehabilitation where they refer to the activity cycle, where people come to activity and they want to change, they want all these things, that all the good stuff, so they go at it too strongly, and they cause pain, they cause discomfort, they can't maintain that level of intensity, and ultimately they will drop off. So we need that more graded approach.
And also a graded approach in communication, because if your client's view of themselves is here, maybe I'm broken, or I have a bad knee, so it's always bad, my mom had a bad knee, and it just runs in the family. Then to kind of open possibilities of moving in a different way, where the knee is not stopping you, can only go as fast as this world view changes, and it doesn't change overnight. it has to kind of you have to kind of gradually gather the evidence of movement of the knee being not dangerous. And in narrative approach, they have they talk about unique exclusions, because always when you meet your client, they have a story about how things happen and what happens, and when every time they tell the story of what everything goes wrong and what they can and cannot do, then they keep themselves in the line of the story. So it kind of gets a prediction of the future. And to change the future, to change their view of themselves, you kind of need to help them find the unique exclusion. When was it that you actually could move without feeling pain in your knee? Oh, well, there was time I went dancing, and then something like that. So helping them make a new story and tell a new story and be able to start telling that every time they tell about the history, it takes time. But it's very effective, but it takes time.
Yes. Anna, just a question here. I think you've just spoken to this, but just to get the question in from the audience. Anna, how do you manage clients' initial expectation to be fixed, i.e. that they are broken? Many seek quick fixes to avoid fully embracing personal change. Any insight? Well, you've just provided us with some insight, but I don't know if you want to add any.
What was the last thing of the question? Or maybe I can see it on my screen.
Many people seek quick fixes to avoid fully embracing personal change. So they really don't want to make those big changes. But
I think that's because the big changes are threatening. I mean, it's very threatening to think that you have to change everything in your life. So I think the quick fix thing is actually, even very smart, intelligent people, I'm not all for quick fixes, but I'd like to do this very accelerated phase, and then I can kind of continue in a slower tempo. And I think that it's what they feel is the pain that when they realize, then they're very far from what they thought they would be, and like looking yourself in the mirror thinking, oh my God, I forgot myself the last 3 years, I need to fix that. And wanting to kind of alleviate this pain, then what I do is, what I and my team do, we try to normalize and actually open the space for that it's a very, very normal reaction, and that it's okay to feel grief of kind of losing yourself for the last couple of years. And when they accept that feeling, that it's okay, and feel the grief and find out that they are not going to break by feeling that, then it gets easier to actually kind of hold your horses and say, okay, we'll start in the real tempo, and also remind them of all the last times they tried the quick fixes. How did it work for them? Yeah. I didn't answer the first part of the question, did I?
I think you did. No, that's fine, Anna. That's absolutely fine. So I guess I'm sort of thinking about your multidisciplinary team, and so how that team might approach that then in terms of getting them to hold their horses, promoting that long-term kind of situation. I mean, what springs to mind for me, I know there's a technique, decisional balance, where you write down the pros and cons of your existing behavior, and you write down the pros and cons of the behavior what you want to establish. So you're constantly weighing up where you were against where you want to be. But interested to hear the approaches in your team, I guess.
Yeah, what we do is also actually normalizing the reactions, because when you don't feel like the odd one out, when you know, okay, that's actually a normal reaction to overeat when you've been on a restricted diet, or it's a normal thing to kind of not feel anything when you start training because you haven't been moving your body for quite a lot of time. That's a very important process actually to be met, and like, okay, that's normal thing because your body has to get used to. So actually it's a kind of an educational process. That's one thing. But the other thing is actually to give them the power back, So when they go like, I need another exercise, I don't like that one and it hurts me, so it's the wrong exercise, I need a new one, for example. Then we'll try to go back and say, what if you try to film yourself during the exercise and maybe stop before it hurts, or make it slower? So we try to kind of give the responsibility back to them, having to find out how can they do the exercise without hurting. So, and that is actually a suggestion that you will be able to do the squat without hurting, but you need to figure out how you can do it without hurting. Of course, we can also help. Okay, you can make the movement path safer by actually touching your knees before, by doing a little joint mobility, by stabilizing your gaze or whatever. So we can help with some points, but we will try to kind of hang on and not let the client escape and try to find another thing to deal with. And that's also about the consistency and holding your horses, I think. Also, I think one thing I would like to talk about is actually the reframing. So when we hear the client speaks in the terms of, I've just been to a manual therapist and I was told not to move at all because I have a frozen shoulder and it's inflamed, so I should not move it. Then we can help to reframe and tell about pain education, and also make and give them something else they can say instead. So maybe, while I'm not able to move my arm just yet, I am though able to do something else. And about lifestyle intervention, I think it's a funny thing, because you can have this, self-fulfilling prophecy of not succeeding. And we've been looking at different metaphors. So if you, for example, say it's like a journey, or it's a step-by-step process, then in that lies an implication that you can fall down the steps, or you can get lost in your journey, or you can get, choose a wrong path, which restricts possibilities. So in that we found a metaphor as an equalizer, a mixing. The DJ does the thing. In Danish, it's mixerpulten.
Mixing.
So you have the buttons, you can go up and down, but there are many buttons, and you can just choose, okay, I am not going to move that one right now, but I can move this one. So by actually taking the linearity of the process, taking this structure or the special plan out of it, you open up for possibilities in the language of the client to actually find out, okay, which button can I move right now? And then they feel empowered. So I hope you can hear the difference, those of you who are with us right now.
Yes, no, absolutely. I was just looking at my notes actually, and I was looking at some of the theory around motivational interviewing, and they have a mnemonic there, rule, and the R stands for resist the writing reflex, a need to fix someone's behaviour. So again, we're back to that empowering, where those small changes. We're not going to fix everything at once, Anna. I guess that sort of speaks to you.
Actually, as a client, a coach, a facilitator, you actually you have to find peace with that. It can take time, and you are not the one who is supposed to force the process or to speed the process. It goes just as fast as it can go, and it's not your job to speed it up. It's your job to be there to support your client in the tempo that they have, and help them acknowledge their successes. So when they're like, I'm still not there, I still haven't lost the pounds, I still cannot squat without my knee hurts, you can help them see, but you can squat lower than before, and you didn't gain weight. That's a huge one, actually. The status quo is actually nice. You didn't go the wrong way. So helping them find the unique exclusions is very important in that process. And to build up self-efficacy, to build up the locus of control, you have to stop giving optimal plans and have to do doable plans. So you have to find out where's the path of least resistance. If everything went wrong and you lost your job tomorrow and you get divorced from your husband and your kids get sick, what would be the little thing that you still would be able to hang on to? Okay, let's do that. Success and success.
Doable plans. I like that, Anna. Doable plans. That's good. I'm just wondering, in terms of, if the client is going to be empowered and you're going to allow them to lead the process, we want as much information from them as possible, and we need to empathize with the information that they give us. So I'm thinking, what are the techniques to get them to, if you're having a discussion with them, for them really to lead that discussion, for them to give you information about their beliefs, their attitudes, their needs. So, how can we get them to talk to us?
That's a question of trust and a trustworthy relationship. And to get trust, you need to actually respect the person that's there in front of you. So as a coach, as a facilitator, you have to really not believe that you know better. You have to really not believe that you can fix them, or you have to fix them. You're just a witness, or you're a mirror, and you're looking for some things that they say that you actually just can mirror back to them. Because then when the client feels seen, or the person in front of you, any person, I mean, if you want to use that on your husband or your wife or everything, then you can, the important thing is actually just to be there with them in this process, and open the room for reflection. And if a client thinks that you will, if there is any chance that a client will feel ashamed of something they did or did not do, I'm sorry, there comes a, ambulance. If there is just any bit of doubt that you will shame them or you will look down on them, they will not tell you what it really is about. And then you will keep working on the level where you're trying to fix a problem that's not really a problem, because the problem is down there, but you don't get there because you are not a safe person to rely on.
Yes, no, I totally agree. And again, going back to motivational interviewing, the rule mnemonic and the L would be listen with empathy. And empathy is about acceptance of the person, acceptance of their position, of their beliefs, of their attitudes. And I think in terms of our industry, sometimes that empathy is missing. We need to be confident enough to maybe take a step back and show that empathy and allow them to give us information.
I think also your mic just went off. I don't know if it's on purpose. Your sound disappeared.
Can you hear me again?
I can hear you.
I think I released too early there. But I hope you got the sense of it.
Yeah, I got the sentence. Do I remember that though? I think that it's very important for us not to have an expectation of, if I think that I am only a success if my client succeeds in kilos or pain freedom or whatever, then I will not be able to actually let them do things with their least resistance and in their tempo and in their way. So I have to let go of the thought of me being a success only if I get my client to do something. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't have any ambitions on how far my clients get. And when the aha moment appears, it appears when it appears, when they're ready for that, or when, and I know that everything I do is like sowing the seeds in the ground. At some point it will blossom, but maybe not when I need it, or so I really think it's important to stand back.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Because as fitness professionals, we get hammered with smart goal setting, don't we? And so we all need to be doing that. But then when you think about smart goal setting, then the T is time frame. So we need to set specific things to achieve specific goals, whether they're in terms of exercise performance or weight loss or whatever. But we do rather have that hammered into us, Anna, don't we? That we should achieve a certain goal by a certain time.
Yes, and I think that when we do that, we kind of keep up an illusion of us being in control in areas where we don't have any control. And I like to just focus on behavior goals. Okay, what is the least hard thing that you can do today? Okay, let's start with that. So every time it's just don't go against the resistance. Just choose the path of least resistance every time and just focus on today. What can you do today? And that leads me to the thing that I wrote about one important marketing question, because marketing is, it's about communicating and understanding your client, but it's also about selling things to people. And when you are working with people, you have to sell them the message of that it's important to exercise, or that it's important to drink water, and it's important to go to bed, and it's important to eat vegetables every day. Because and it's one of my mentors in marketing, she was like, when the customer has bought something from you, they're still in doubt. And even though your client has bought or has put the money on the table and like, okay, now let's go, 8 weeks, 16 weeks, 1 year, whatever, let's go, they will still be in doubt. And they will not be in doubt of your competency, they will be in doubt of their own competency. So you have to sell them in on the message every day that they are able to do something today, and it's a good idea to do that. So they have to buy in on it every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I was sitting here actually just thinking a bit random here, Anna, but I was just sitting here thinking of all those testimonials I see where, I see a lot of do this program and you can go from this to this, etc. And I wonder, bearing in mind what we've been talking about, what that sets up in people's minds in terms of where they see themselves now, and in terms of what they could achieve, and whether that's an unrealistic expectation.
More often than not, it's an unrealistic expectation, because you don't even know if you have a client who achieved like a huge crazy body transformation, if it was even because of you or something else that they did. In my business, everybody is chasing very successful transformation pictures and stories, and I know that majority of my clients actually feel bad about themselves when they see that. I know that when you're sitting there and it's 10 p.m. and you just ate the ice cream that you didn't want, then you can actually very easily get people to buy something from you if you show the before and after picture. But we don't do that in our team, because it actually digs a deeper hole in the self-image of the client. And that doesn't help them with compliance, because they will just look at this picture and think, I'm still not there, I'm still not there, I'm still not there. And it's a huge pain that makes many people to give up. So I think that maybe it's a good thing to just move away from the before and after and how many centimeters and how many kilos you can expect, because you can't control that. But you can control the behavior. So you start saying behavior goals instead of what do I want to achieve to what am I able to do, then you will get much more success, because then you're actually empowering people and they're doing it because you give them something they can do. So it's doable for them and they feel that they are in control again. And that's a much better predictor of success than being able to drop 10 pounds during the first 5 weeks.
Yeah, so Anna, do you do any sort of fitness assessment stuff at the outset of the process? Are you taking measurements? Are you doing circumferential measures? Are you doing skin folds? And then are you monitoring that over time? I'm sort of, I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, we have a comprehensive health journal, and every year we kind of adjust it a little. And right now we are talking about maybe doing something differently, because we do ask about weight, and we do ask about circumference, but it actually makes people feel bad. So we're talking right now about just removing that. And we do encourage our clients to take pictures, because they tell us something. We do encourage them to send videos of their movements, so we can see, okay, if you just adjusted that, you would feel more comfortable or more strong or something like that. And the pictures actually reveal something that we cannot see in the mirror, because often there is so much self-criticism connected with the image. So it helps our clients to see, okay, I got a better, I carry myself better, or my muscles have more tone, or something like that. Start to acknowledge things and celebrate things that weren't measured, but something else happened. And the first thing we always measure is actually the subjective measures. It's like, is your mood getting better? Do you sleep better? Do you want to move more? Because we know that these are the important predictors of people being able to make better choices consistently. So that's more of an interest to us.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I think, yeah, that's so important, isn't it? That's and yeah, I would see that as a more meaningful, as more meaningful feedback. I guess, I always wondered with the fitness assessments when I used to teach all that stuff, and I've done many fitness assessments, and inevitably you're giving people bad news, aren't you? They're not in a place where they want to be. So
Still not there.
as a motivator, it's not fantastic, but it's interesting. I've got a question here from the audience. So your approach, Anna, is quite different, isn't it?
Oh, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I released the trigger. Sorry. Yeah, your approach is quite different. So, and one of our audience is asking, well, Anna clearly takes a very different approach, which is amazing. What have been her greatest challenges of taking this approach? Can she share? So, I'm thinking, how did you set this up? This is a total change of perspective, isn't it? Really?
What my biggest challenge was, getting people to buy into that perspective, or my biggest challenge in the process after they kind of start working with us?
Well, let's do both. But certainly, what is the biggest challenge in getting them to buy in? Really, I guess as a starting.
I think that there's a huge market of those who just don't want to. They just want fast results, so they go to coaches who offer fast results. And I keep talking about the other things that are important, and just keep doing that. And I know they come back. So in a year, or in 2 years, and 3 years, they come back. So my biggest challenge is that there can be a long way from somebody has heard of me and our team until they become a client, because they have to actually feel confident of letting go of some of the things they thought or they expected, and buying into our strategy. So it takes a long time in this process to actually get some. I cannot do the Facebook ad and there was a new client. They have to know us and be in a dialogue with us a long time before they buy into that.
Yes, no, I can. I can understand.
Your sound is off again.
Sorry, one of our watchers is is really asking what is your typical client look like, Anna? Yeah, is there a typical client that you work with?
Not in the body shape. I mean, the typical client is that somebody who is at a point where they cannot do what they are used to do with their body or what they would like to do. And it's very different because some of our clients are people who never worked out before and who have never felt comfortable in a fitness community, and a very have a huge amount of negative experience with physical activity. That's one kind of client. And then we have clients who actually were super active and high level athletes before, and then they kind of, because they were in the paradigm of mind over matter and overheard pain and overheard all this protective signals from their body, that they actually do have now chronic pain or stress or an autoimmune disease or something else that they run into, that we help them cope with. Very, very different. But I think the thing that is common for them all is that they have acknowledged that what they used to do before doesn't work anymore, and now they buy into a different approach.
And how long typically are your clients with you?
Minimal a year. Well, we do have some programs to actually share a bit of our information or the way we communicate, or some tools like for 4 weeks, and then they usually continue to 1 year program. But many of our clients are with us for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, so they just keep going to our online training like they would in a fitness center or something like that.
And this is all totally online?
Yeah, it is. We do have a live studio where we see clients sometimes if we see, okay, it's a complicated case and we actually have to be several people assessing the client or trying to see if some manual techniques can help, then we do see the client. But it's to make them more comfortable to be on their own. So we teach them to do things on their own.
Okay,
mostly.
And you know, because we're basically talking about establishing a relationship here with a client, aren't we? Quite, you know, I hesitate to use the word intimate, but it is a close relationship, and you're doing all of that online, so you clearly don't feel that online environment takes away from that interpersonal community.
No, definitely not, because we talk more to our clients because we can talk more often. So we are actually more in touch. And then there are some clients that don't need us until there's some period where they actually do need support. And then it's quite intense, 1 month or 2 months, and then they're on their own again. So it's very, very different. But the thought of having a lifeline, a hotline to us is very important to feel safe on. Actually, if something is challenging, then you can always reach out. And it's a nice thought for many people. I was thinking about something I actually didn't touch on, but we talked about whether your language actually opens opportunities or closes opportunities for the client, or makes more threatening environment or more safe environment. But there is also something about the connection between brain and body. So some things can disconnect and some things can connect. And if you help your clients to connect with their body, then they will start to really appreciate that and stop worrying about different objectives, targets. And it's a very interesting thing in pain science. There is an app that's called Recognize, and it's if, let's say, you have a chronic pain in your right hand, and you are being asked to look at the pictures of different hands in different positions, and you have to click, is it right hand or the left hand that you're seeing? And on the hand that you don't feel pain, most clients will actually guess right 100% of the times. That's my left hand. But the hand that has been hurting, they would not recognize it. So there has happened a distancing because they felt pain for so long. There has been less movement. That's one thing. But also because the movement and that body part started to be chunked with something very unpleasant, or the consequences of feeling pain or not being able to move your hand might mean that you had to change a job or something else. So there can be potentially very big emotional charge in that. And so you disconnect to be able to be with that pain. And when you work with the physical things, you actually help to, to touch the hand and help to remap the hand so you can start to use it again without feeling pain. But when we did a survey a couple of years ago, we saw that many women answered that, for example, about the body parts that they don't like. There were 70% who hated their stomach. So they were like, I never touch my stomach. I never look at myself in the mirror naked. I'm just ashamed of how I look without clothes on. So try to imagine if there is a body part that you hate, whether because it hurts or because you just don't like the way it looks. Then you don't touch it and you don't move it and you don't like it. And that kind of makes the mapping blurrier. So you get further away from your body. And when you're further away from your body, you actually you cannot feel it anymore. And it's hard to start moving and start using your body when you don't know, when you cannot predict what it would do. So helping clients connect with their body again, helping them see themselves in a different light, helping them see that it's just a part of them, and there is a reason why you can have fat on your stomach after a stressful period or something like that, to help them see that their body is whole and they're not broken, and the body's protecting them, can actually help them connect again.
And that's that's really that's quite powerful stuff, isn't it? But I can totally get that, and I identify with that, and yeah, clearly what we're all about is promoting greater awareness of our bodies and how they move, so that that has a functional carry across to life, etc., etc. But if there is a block to that, then we need to resolve it.
So it's something. So it's potentially something that actually is threatening. So let's say that you have a client that says, "I want to lose belly fat," and you focus on it, you measure it, you pinch it, and it's every time it reminds you how much you hate this body part. It will be very, very hard. And let's say then you have to squat, and then your belly touches your thighs. Then it will trigger the danger and miss signal, and not the safety signal. Yeah. So, and then potentially it will be really hard to get your client to be compliant with the training, because every time they squat, their belly touches their thighs and they feel uncomfortable about that. They feel awkward, or they feel that they hate this tummy and why doesn't it move away? And then they kind of just drop it because it doesn't work or it doesn't go fast enough. Or so to move the focus away and actually help them. We do a lot of like massage. Before you start to train, you can body map and just do some stomach massage and learn how to find your belly muscles and stuff like that, so that they kind of get some more positive signals from the area. And when so you start to trigger a safety in me neurotag more than the danger in me neurotag. And the more safety in me neurotags you can turn on for the client, the more compliant they will be. Yeah. Because they will feel more safe.
Interesting. Yeah. Again, in the area of low back pain management, somebody has acknowledged that they've got a problem with their low back, and in every exercise you're constantly referring to their back. You're telling them to be careful of their back. That can reinforce many of those danger messages that those threats that you talk about, Anna. So yeah, okay, good stuff. Good. We're coming to the end here, Anna. I'm just thinking that there's you have accumulated an enormous amount of knowledge in this area. I don't know if there's any particular authors or you would recommend to look at, any particular theories that you would maybe conclude.
Yes, I could definitely, everybody who's like professionally interested, there's Explain Pain Supercharged, a really, really nice book that also both touches on metaphors, and it's Lorimer Mosley and David Butler that have written that. Then there is I have the books with me, actually. There is Behave by Robert Sapolsky. Can you see that?
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah.
You brought the books with you. Wow.
Yeah. I never go anywhere without my books. And there is motivational interviewing by
Milner and
Rolnick. Yeah.
Yes, great stuff. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, some really good reading there for our members, I think, and yeah, I'd encourage people to look at all those areas. I'd encourage them maybe to look at some of the stuff around cognitive behavioral therapy and some of the techniques used within that. There are cognitive behavioral therapists, and we can't claim to be that, but we can learn from that area. I'm sure. I'm reading a rather large book at the moment on emotional intelligence. Which is another area very worthwhile of further investigation. So, yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, we're just about hour up, Anna. I'm sure we'll involve you in future sessions. I'd just like to say to the audience that from a Europe Active point of view, all our webinars are available on our COVID-19 page on our website, so please look that up. All our webinars are there, and other guidance is there. I'd also like to just mention that we're actually doing an activity hour, Be Active hour, on the 30th of May. This is at 5 o'clock on the 30th of May. You can find out all about it on the website. This is trying to encourage the citizens of Europe and the world to be active for an hour. Anna has just agreed to be involved in that hour, so thank you for that, Anna, and we'll be contributing and doing some physical activity for us, which will be great. But please go to our website, guys, and have a look at that. And if you can encourage people to be active in that hour and use that to talk to people about the benefits of physical activity, please do. But for today, I'd just like to very much thank Anna for her time and her insights. Fantastic. I love your approach, Anna. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Do you want to just conclude with a couple of final words?
Me or?
Yes, Anna, do you want to just quickly
Yeah.
say goodbye?
I was just kind of zoned out. I would just like to kind of finish it by reminding, just being aware of the language that you use. Is it opening opportunities, or is it closing opportunities? Is it creating more threat, or is it creating more safety? And does it connect your client more or disconnect more from their body? It's just very interesting. I think when you start to notice that, there is no way back. You will and you will kind of say something, and then I should have said it a different way. And it's okay to reframe and to explain to your clients and people around you why you're reframing. I think it's a very good conversation starter about this important subject. So
great words, Anna. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, great to have you. Okay, bye-bye, everybody.